Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Holden, president of UNOS and Democracy Matters, and I'm here to present to you today the Puma Democratic Manifesto, our petition, which has been signed by Chris, the VP of STEAM Club, Romeo, the president of the Creative Writing Club, and Max, the president of Anime Club, and Tommy, the advisor of Anime Club, Joe, the president of STEAM, who's right there, Cynthia, who's the advisor of the Hispanic Students Association, and myself. So anyway, we, the below signed, demand democratic elections for the student government to be held in January for the spring 2024 semester, because I do believe 4 months is long enough to prepare, and then August for the fall 2024 semester, and so on. The electoral system should be a 2-round system for president, vice president, registrar, and treasurer. I'll explain what that means in a moment. For the Senate, the 5 people with the most votes will be the 5 senators. Eligibility to run for office should be determined by the administration and constitution, and there could be interviews for that. We're not opposed to that. Since the student government deciding who can and cannot run would create a conflict of interest, and we also demand that any constitutional changes be subject to a referendum by the student body, as Logan was talking about. Thank you very much. So the purpose, why democracy? The purpose of our student government is to represent the students and ensure our demands are taken into account by the administration, so the administration can do things that help us, since we know what is in our own best interests. Especially with how difficult life is for most people right now, with the price of food and gas, that applies to our own cafeteria as well. Democratic elections ensure the students control the student government so that it is an instrument of our will. In a democratic republic, politicians are supposed to be the humble and attentive servants of the people. This is why many students, schools, and colleges, including Arizona State University, elect their student governments. And if you don't believe me, it's on ASU's website, because Joe, you brought that up. It is called the student government for a reason. Most of us are adults who can vote in real elections for real politicians, so we should be able to vote for our student government. Well, we are not saying this of the current student government. If the student government were performing poorly, elections are the only recourse we have of removing them and enacting change. That is why democracy matters. In elections, we can also have open debates between candidates to promote interactions, discussion, pluralism, so students know who they are voting for, and we can also have interviews to ensure, as you, Madam President, brought up, cooperation and that having an integrated team. But elections alone are not enough. We need democratic elections to ensure majority rule, the core principle of democracy. That is why, for the executive offices listed in the previous paragraph, a runoff election must be required if no candidate wins a majority. For example, say candidate A gets 40% of the vote, candidate B gets 35%, and candidate C gets 25%. Without a runoff election, candidate A would win with 60% of people having voted against them for another candidate. That would be minority instead of majority rule. The solution is a runoff election between the top 2 candidates, candidates A and B in this example. This would mean in order to win, a candidate would need to reach out to the majority and not merely their base, requiring them to build a broad consensus in support of them. Candidates A and B would have to compete for the 25% who voted for candidate C in the previous round, the first round. Most democratic republics around the world use this method to elect their president. The changes herein would result in a democratic and inclusive student government that can work with the administration and student body to improve our campus. We demand and want democracy, not oligarchy. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening.